In the beginning, you are tested quite a bit, and not really because of the charts, but on an emotional level. So I'm going to be giving you some survival tactics so that you don't completely implode, and that in this experimentational phase, in this learning phase, it's not as expensive as it can be sometimes. Yeah, I just want to make sure that, you guys are able to stay in the game so that you can actually end up ahead. Because sometimes people put so much risk on themselves in the beginning that before it gets good, they just give up because they just expose themselves too much, or they just didn't really know what to expect. So these are the survival tactics brought to you by Tritopia. Okay, so from here, what you guys are going to see more than anything is emotional mistakes in the beginning, for sure. Over leveraging, most definitely. And expectations that you may have to reset, or you just need perspective on in general. Emotional mistakes. So these are probably the most common ones that you can expect as you dive into this. And the first one being self-doubt. Now, some of you are confident. Some of you were just over time have built that level of confidence in yourself, whether it's through nurture, through nature. Maybe you've been in just situations where you're able to build this muscle, but a lot of you may not have this. And some of you might be confident in yourself, but this is a new industry. This is a little bit more technical. There's a few more variables involved. So self-doubt happens pretty often. And a lot of this actually comes down to your expectations. You maybe thought this was going to happen a lot faster, so it's not happening at your pace, and you start to doubt yourself. Or you're losing more than you thought you would, and you don't have the confidence that you thought you'd have before. So honestly, most of the time, this self-doubt is really because of our own beliefs that we created, and they can totally be off base anyway. So be mindful with that. If you are just really experiencing self-doubt, especially in the first few months, it's normal. This is a new game. So don't expect to come out, winning all your trades, being profitable right away in the first few months. It takes time. All right. Now, there's 4 main fears, and you're going to notice these in your first few months. And first is the fear of missing out. Yeah. So you're in a group chat. You're in the Tradetopia chat. You're seeing other people, especially people that have been in the game a lot longer, and they're hitting trades, right? Let's say you're on my live stream, and all of a sudden you're looking at this and you're like, whoa, I couldn't take that. It happened too fast, or, I'm still learning. I wasn't involved. And the whole chat is, it's in profit. Everyone's going crazy, things like that, and you're missing out. So this can lead to getting in late, chasing trades and things like that. So at the end of the day, if you're not in when other people are in, you just didn't get an invitation in the first place. You weren't meant to be at that party, and that's fine. There will be more. We will have good times in the future. From there, it's the fear of being wrong. This one is embedded deeply, deeply, deeply from childhood, schooling, a lot of the deep psychology work we do with the members. But this one happens, and it has a lot of domino effects, because either you don't put yourself in position to trade because you're scared of being wrong, so that you're just not even trading, or you are in a trade and you should be out. It should have hit your stop loss, but you moved it, you eliminated it completely, and now things get worse, right? Your loss is way bigger than it needs to be, or you just fully commit to not losing at whatever cost, and sometimes that cost is the entire account. So that fear of being wrong is really prevalent. From here, you have the fear of losing money. This kind of stems from different places. It can be your financial situation right now. It can be you have a scarcity mindset overall, like you might be just pretty frugal. You might be over leveraged, so it's just money that you weren't prepared to lose. And so it can come from a lot of different places. And the point of this is actually not fully because all of these require deep trainings that we have, but I want you to just be aware, like, okay, these are the things that I could experience, that they're normal to experience, and if I am experiencing them, I need to be aware, and I need to correct myself. I need to get to the bottom of it. Same thing with the fear of leaving money on the table. This one's interesting because it's where now you're in profits. It's finally happening. It's going the right way. But now you don't want to close it because, well, what if more? What if I make more? This is where the greed is kicking in. This is where uncertainty is kicking in. And when you haven't established like a real exit strategy just based on the market conditions, the structure, the imbalance, liquidity, whatever reasons, or let's say if you have a fixed risk reward, a lot of times when you just haven't made a decision prior to being in, this is where you're just not sure when to even get out, when it's the right time to get out. So remember those. And I mean, greed is so, and this comes from so many places as well, but this is one of the most common mistakes because a lot of people come into this with the expectations that it's going to happen fast, because it could, but that if it does, it's usually just a one and done situation. It's not really based on skill. It's more so you were in the right place at the right time. And trading isn't about making money once. It's about duplicatability, right? If you can have that, if it's duplicatable, then it's what we want. If it's not, then it's kind of pointless. And a lot of these emotions will lead to something like revenge trading, like overtrading, where revenge trading is you're no longer entering the market because your setup is there. You're entering the market because you feel like the market owes you. You're entering the market again because you feel like it did you wrong. Or you have this timeline on your money where you, for whatever reason, you got to get it back now, where obviously that's not really the truth. There's never certainty. And when you win and when you lose, you just have to play the odds. The risk reward, the probabilities, that's what we're trading. And the reason that overtrading happens usually can come down to how you're really creating goals for yourself, like how you define a goal for yourself, in which a lot of people use money or percentages as their daily or weekly goal or monthly goal, whereas you just want to make sure you're doing the right stuff. If you're doing the right things and those strategies, those principles, those systems come from a place that have data that you know work, then most of the, and I'll say this right now, there are so many traders, so many people that can analyze the market super well, and that's not the problem. It's that they just have the desire to make more and more, or to make it back quicker, and it just leads to trading way more than you're supposed to, and you give so much back, or you just end up spiraling. So you want to really be aware of these emotional mistakes that can happen. And I really want to talk about over-leveraging specifically because I do think this is the one that kind of has the worst consequences, and that's because your money is your oxygen in this. You run out of money, you're out of the game. And most traders think profit first, then risk. So when we're thinking about, okay, what we want to make, or, you know, like I need a couple more percentages, a couple more dollars, and I'll pass my challenge, or, you know, I'll make $100, $1,000, you'll hit some like invisible number that you've decided is important to you. And so, yeah, man, think about the risk first. Start there. If you start there, everything else is so much easier. It's so much better. You're way likelier to stay in the game. And long term, the aggressiveness doesn't really make you more. Now, you'll learn how to identify when there's certain opportunities where you maybe go a little bit more aggressive, and maybe it's in investments, maybe it's just a day trader, but those moments are not what kind of keeps you in the game and progress, and it compounds everything. Usually that high risk is what has a detriment to the account. So again, the risk comes before. You think about it before you imagine the reward. And when you lose, the probabilities are the same again. It's not like, oh, well, since I lost this trade, the next one's going to go better. They're more likely to win. No, it doesn't change. Like it's always stays the same. So if you do lose, Don't go and go, okay, well, I got to make that back and then I want to get into profit. So let me risk even more to make it back and to go up. Careful, right? And all of these things start to create a spiral of emotions. And one of the things that I've seen happen a lot is like we carry over emotions, and they come from the previous trade that maybe didn't go so well. You carry over information, energy, emotions from the job, the employment, the relationship, the argument, the person in traffic. And so, yeah, don't let your emotions from whether it's the previous trade or just whatever you were doing invade the present. The present trader is what really matters. If you can focus on that, you're going to be all right. And when I've made mistakes, it's usually because I'm not actually trading in the now. I'm trading in the past. And whether it's good or like whether I'm on a win streak, I could be on a 8-win streak, right? Like literally right now, I'm on like an 8 or 9 trade win streak. And if I'm just, running on the highs of last week, the last couple of weeks of trades, then what's going to happen? I'm like, oh, I'm good at this. Like, oh, I'm a great trader. I haven't lost in, 2 weeks or something. And so then I'm no longer focused on doing the right things, waiting for the market to be in a specific, format. I'm just, I got it. When it's never been about me. It's just about the system working. So on the other side, if you're on a losing streak, does your confidence drop? Are you risking more so that you win it back faster? So again, if your emotions are charged from the past, then all it's going to do is it's going to charge you, and it's not going to be in profits more often than not. So think about that as you're moving forward and you're thinking about surviving in this game. Now, this is something that I didn't realize I had wrong for probably like 9 months, a year. And it was my expectations. And it was on my expectations on quite a few things. So when I came into this, I thought trading was supposed to just become my new job, my new income very quick. You know how you go to a new job and you're like, all right, cool, I'm doing a week of shadowing or 2-week training, and then you're in there and you're basically doing the job. If it's a lower income job, like I was a busser, a server, bar back, things like that, the training is super extensive. And then you basically got the hang of it within your first month. Yeah, trading is not the same way. You're right. You're in the trenches with the biggest institutions in the world that are designed to take advantage of how you think. They know how the majority of the world experiences emotions and how they respond and react to any given situation. This is not meant to substitute your primary income right away. This can definitely supplement it, and it can turn into it for sure. But you don't want to force your money or the market to become your primary income. Like, you can't just go throwing money at this and then just expecting it all to be, it'll work out. Like, no. I've actually seen that high income earners are overconfident because they believe that because they have more money, it means that they'll figure it out faster. And that's definitely not always the case. So as you're going into this, drop your ego and your pride a bit and realize, all right, I'm not going to win all these trades. If anything, you're not even going to be making half of them right. And it's going to take some time to learn, and that's fine. That's so okay. So approach this as you would any other high income profession. You don't expect to be performing brain surgery in your first couple weeks in med school, right? That's coming down the line 10 years. So as a lawyer, as an accountant, you're going to do quite a bit of training until you're even in the field and until the results are hitting. This is no different. Can it happen way faster? Absolutely. But does it have to? No. And that goes into the next process, which is that there is a learning curve and nobody starts at the same level. For example, I came into this and I had a really high tolerance to losing and failure. So I come from a skateboarding background where I mean, I know what it's like to fall, to bleed, to bruise, to break, and to just get up and go do it again. Like, I've lost teeth and continued on. I've broken bones and just skated my way home, and then eventually made my way over. My tolerance to that, to pain in general, is higher, and that gives me an advantage because I'm not going to quit quickly. My disadvantage was I just didn't have a lot of experience with money, perspective with money. I had to really develop that. I had to grow that. Some of you might be wizards with technology. You just learn very quickly. You're very organized. Numbers and data just make sense to you. Pattern recognition, awesome. But you might be extremely emotional. You can be a very volatile person. That's totally an idea. Some of you may have very good finances. It's great finances, but you have no discipline. Just understand that. There's going to be people that maybe out-earn you in the first year or two, maybe even the first 4 years. But then by year 5, you're not just caught up, but you're way past them. So much is happening at different speeds, and that's perfectly fine. And as things are happening at different speeds, I want you guys to realize that not everyone's going to get on your speed. Not everyone's going to get to that point where, they're understanding of what you're doing. And this is sometimes one of the hardest things, is that you understand that this is a skill, that you're fully able to see where the market is, understand where money's coming in from, where it's coming out from, and position yourself to make money in these markets. But most people just kind of reject what they don't understand. And that could be people in your family, it could be some friends, and you just might run into a little bit of resistance. But that's kind of valid. They just don't know what they don't know. And they want what's best for you. And so if someone wants what's best for you and they don't understand what you do, then it's easier to assume that, like, just be careful. Whatever that might be. Keep those things in mind. And as you're going through this, give yourself some grace. You're learning completely different terminology. You're getting emotionally and psychologically challenged every day. You're discovering what to even get prepared for. Your buttons are going to get pressed. You're going to make mistakes. But the beginning is for that. The first 6 months, maybe the first year, it's just constant experimentation, constant trial and error. And that's perfectly fine. And I think that's what gave me such a big boost early on, was that I was not afraid to just find out. The FAFO, like, I was fucking around and finding out. And I lost way more money than I needed to. I could have done it with demo, but that was my pride. That was my ego. That needed to be challenged too. You're going to mess up. And a lot of times it's because you're just finding out about new things. And other times it's going to be the same mistake, once, twice, 3 times or more. And you just get to a point where you're like, okay, I don't want to make these same mistakes anymore. What do I fundamentally have to change about myself, my thoughts, my beliefs, my actions? And so you being emotionally and constantly tested is building you up, because you don't know who you are until you're challenged. You may think you got it down, but if everything's been pretty easy, then you haven't really truly been, like, battle tested. It's when, the markets are moving faster, things are happening where you're like, oh, wait, what do I do? And that's the biggest thing. So when you understand that is the game, then you're better prepared for it. When you go, okay, I guess I am going to be tested emotionally by these markets, that's a skill that I need to have. The expectations are so important. And the last thing I'll say here is, you kind of create this vision, these expectations of how you think and what you think this is going to be like. Make sure that you just reevaluate those expectations, because I remember it had been like 18 months or 2 years, and I was thinking, like, man, I was supposed to be this far already. I was already supposed to be here, and I'm not. Like, what a failure. Who am I? But I just made those expectations up out of thin air. They had no merit. It wasn't based off of people's experiences or how other people do things or just what's normal. I just made things up and ran with it. Keep those things in mind, guys. Here, we can't escape our emotions. It's not about being robotic. That's never been the point. It's about being aware. It's about learning how to prevent them. And then once, if they do appear, it's about basically being able to see them and feel them without executing on them. And it's a training, it's a constant practice, but repetitions, being on the live streams or, being in the inner circle and having those conversations, having those one-on-ones, rewiring the subconscious mind, those things do add up. Keep those things in mind. And guys, we want money. Duh. Of course. And our desire for it, it's going to overpower the way we think sometimes. And it can be a drug, that need, that greed. If we're default moving in a certain way where we protect ourselves, it's going to go better. If there's certain rules, certain risk percentages or amounts, and you follow that first and foremost, that's just the priority, then everything else happens a lot smoother. I wanted you guys to understand what the journey actually looks like from the ground up so that you are grounded and move on. Now, this can accelerate. Some of you may end up getting funded very quickly. You learn the technicals. You've built quite a bit of self-discipline and emotional regulation, and you might do it fast. But you at least want to focus on just absorbing and gaining the experience, learning what it is that you know and don't know so that this actually works for you. This was never meant to be a sprint. You want to gain experience. Of course, there's risk. You can't escape it. But you can do it in a calculatable way and in a way where it's actually allowing you to stay neutral, to stay level-headed and just operate. These are the tactics that you can implement to survive so that you learn, you grow, and then as you build confidence, as you build more evidence, and you get to the point where you're like, all right, this is what I need to be doing. You only get there if there's still a little bit of money in the bank. You only get there if you haven't been completely gutted and you just went about it the right way. I'll see you guys in the next video. I hope you're enjoying this. Share with us the biggest takeaway that you have. We really want to know where you're at, especially if you're newer. We just want to make sure you're on the right path and things are starting to click. Appreciate you guys.